I gotta tell you, wow, what a month it's been. I've been a little MIA lately because in the last month, let me give you some little history. I am from Northeast Ohio, and I grew up and was raised in a town called Menor, Ohio, which is about 25 miles east of Cleveland. So I am a lifelong Cleveland Indian slash now they're known as the Guardians, which have been known for about 4 or 5 years now. So mid-market team, been a fan pretty much my whole life. Never really spends money. Pretty much what we do, we do it through smoke and mirrors and glue and scotch tape and electric tape and stuff like that. But for some reason, we've gone to the playoffs like 8 out of 13 years, won the division numerous times, have gone to the World Series 3 times in my lifetime. And for some reason, they were down and out on September 4th. And again, this isn't a sports podcast. This is an action spot podcast. And I will get to that part, though. I had to lick my wounds for the last couple of days. I was actually going to do a live show yesterday, and I just couldn't do it. I just had to sit there and just kind of watch Cleveland sports programs on YouTube because that's where I get my Cleveland fix, and just kind of lick my wounds and listen to these guys, and just kind of cry in my sugar-free Pepsi. It's because these MFers, man, they're 11 games on September 4th and proceeded to pull off the most historic comeback ever in Major League Baseball, ever. Major League Baseball has been around for 100+ years, give or take. Never has a team been down 15.5 games. But I'm still watching. I'm a fan. They suck. I watch them. They're great. I'm not one of those fair weather fans. I'm not a bandwagon. Do I complain when they do bad? Of course I do. But I'm not one of these fans that's they constantly attacks everything. And listen, I wouldn't want their jobs. I wouldn't want Stephen Vogt's job. He's the manager of the Cleveland Guardians. I would not want that man's job. But 2 years in a row, he should be manager of the year this year. He was manager of the year last year. He should be manager this year. So they pull off the most improbable comeback by catching up to the Detroit Tigers. Not only catching up to the Detroit Tigers, but beating them 5 out of 6 times at the end of September when it mattered the most, and took the division. We didn't tie them for the division, which we would have had the tiebreaker. We had to put the icing on the cake and win the final game by a Brian Rocchio walk-off 3-run home run. Who's Brian Rocchio, yes? Because unless you're a Cleveland Guardians fan, you probably do not know who Brian Rocchio is. But he is our second baseman, and he shows up in the postseason for whatever reason. Then the wild card series, and of course, Tarek Skubal, who is probably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, makes us look dumb the first game. Totally, this guy was just automatic. He's a machine. And it just makes us look dumb. We should have won that game 1-0 because the 2 runs they scored were unearned. They're because we made errors. So we should have won that game, but that's neither here nor there. We come back in the second game and score all these runs in the 8th inning because why? Brian Rocchio hits a home run, and then Bo Naylor, our catcher, proceeds to hit a 3-run shot. And we're like, oh, then deciding game 3 yesterday. And then there's the Tigers celebrating on our field. That's probably what hurt me the most. I turned it off. After the last out, I'm like, I'm not going to watch these bastards celebrate. Now, again, I don't know these guys. Probably a great group of guys, but I'm not a Detroit Tigers fan. The Detroit Tigers, but I was not going to watch them celebrate on our. There's nothing worse than watching another team celebrate on, and then on our jumbotron, they're like, "Congratulations, Detroit Tigers." I'm like, I get it. You got to be courteous. You got to be professional. So I had to lick my wounds for a day. And I was actually thinking, should I do a live show today? Should I go on here and talk about actions? Sure, I should. I watched enough programming. Am I hurting still? Yes, I am still hurting. Because how do you come back from that when we were dead in the water? okay, let me just put this in frame of reference for you. The most historic comeback ever. I think before we were 15 and a half games out in July after the All-Star break. I think it was 14 games or something. I could be wrong, but it was either 14 or 14 and a half or something, but 15 and a half games. This team, and it was fun to watch. Let me tell you. Oh my God, this was like the best month of baseball. Like, I could have done so much with the website. Of course, I was still working and stuff like that. And, you know, it was just the greatest thing ever. This team had no offense. Like, it still doesn't have offense. We traded away one of our best hitters, Josh Naylor, who Bo Naylor, his brother, is still our catcher. It was great because both of the brothers were on the same team. So he's in Seattle. He's in the division series. They won the bye, so he's still in the playoffs. And Toronto has Shane Bieber, which we traded in July because we were pretty much dead in the water. Plus, he was coming back from injury. Andres Jimenez, who was our second baseman last year. So it's kind of like we're watching all these other ex-Guardians like still in the playoffs because we traded them away. All right, but that's all I'm gonna say. So I just wanted to give you a little history of like why I've kind of been like out of it a little bit, because I'd come home from work or I'd have a day off, I'd be watching games and stuff like that because I'm a fan. I'm a super fan. I was there in the 80s when they were in Cleveland Stadium. Boy, did they suck. Holy cow. And, of course, the 90s was the resurgence. You know, Jacobs Field was built, which is now called Progressive Field. And then they became this great baseball team and had all these great teams. And, of course, went to the World Series in 95, got beat by Atlanta. Went to the World Series in 97 and lost to the Florida Marlins, who bought their championship because they pretty much spent $800 gazillion on players. And then after they won the World Series last year, totally dismantled the team. Totally dismantled the team and got rid of everybody that was responsible for winning that World Series. So that was a freaking slap in the face. Went to Game 7. And then, of course, 2016, Chicago Cubs went to Game 7. We were down in that game. Down, and then Rajai Davis hits this home run to tie it. It was like the most majestic home run ever. Now, usually when that happens, you win that game and you win the World Series, but no, not us. We went to extra innings, and then we proceeded to fall to the Chicago Cubs in extra innings. Because what's momentum? I don't know. Cleveland doesn't know what momentum is. So now here we are. Last year we went to the LCS, lost to the Yankees because we all know the Yankees have $800 gazillion, and they had Judge and Juan Soto, who was now with the Mets, who isn't in the playoffs. Just to go show you, Mets paid $350 million for their team this year, and they were at home. They didn't even make the playoffs. So money doesn't always buy you a World Series. Usually it doesn't. But all those teams are usually in the playoffs. So, and then here's my team coming back in the most improbable run, three or 4 weeks ever in the history of baseball. And not only get in the postseason, but clinch the division, beat the Tigers, and then proceed to lose to the Tigers when it matters the most. So they shouldn't even have been there. But, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so that's all I'm going to talk about. Okay, I just had to get that off my chest. I should do a sports podcast, although I don't have time. I barely have time to do the action podcast. But I should do, just, if anything, just for therapy, like, you know, every year when the Guardians are playing. The Browns, don't even talk about the Browns. That's not even my Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns left in 1997-ish when the late Art Modell took them out and they became the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, they won a Super Bowl when they became the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, that's not my team. That team that's had 40-cent quarterbacks they're starting some guy this Sunday in London. He has never played a day in his life. Joe Flacco sucks, you know. So I don't even consider myself a Browns fan. I haven't been a Browns fan since the 90s. But I've been a Guardians fan through and through. And boy, let me tell you, that means a lot of heartbreak, a lot of sleepless nights. All right, so let's get started. Anyway, so we're done. I got that off my chest. This is the ACTION-FLIX Live podcast. That's right. We are live on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and I believe Facebook now because I reconnected. I was able to reconnect to Facebook. So I believe I am on my Facebook page too as well. So catch me either there or there. So I'm talking about action cinema today. So it's the weekly intel. It's my live podcast, which I'm supposed to do every week, but then it turns out to be like every 4 weeks. Because again, I get busy. I'm a single dad, you know, I work. And then I have some things going on with work, but I'm not going to talk about right now, but you know, I'm in transition, if you will. So Yeah, so I figured it's Friday night. Let me do a live show because I haven't done one in some weeks. So we're going to talk a little Jason Statham because there's been a couple things about Jason Statham hitting this week. Not one, but two of his upcoming movies, Shelter as well as The Beekeeper 2. Shelter is getting a January 2026. That means only a couple more months until we get some Jason Statham. Of course, he's got Mutiny going further in the year. But now we got word on The Beekeeper 2, which Timo Tiahanto is directing. We all know him. The Night Comes for Us. He did Nobody 2, which I've still yet to see. I apologize. I've not seen Nobody 2 yet, just because I've been super busy. I want to see Nobody 2. I love Nobody, the first one, with Bob Odenkirk. Heard some really good things about it. The guys over at the ACTION-FLIX that I'm on liked it. So yeah, so I still haven't seen that one yet. I'm going to see The Smashing Machine this week. I'm super excited about that. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they're saying he might get nominated for Academy Award. Mark Kerr, the famous, pretty much when the UFC was just starting, it wasn't as popular as it was now, but back in the day when it was just starting out, he was one of the stars and had a pretty tragic life. I mean, he's still around, he's still kicking, but I'm going to see that this weekend, so I'm pretty excited. So here was me yesterday. Yep, that was me. Yeah, and then a little bit of this. Yeah. I'll just get. I was doing this on the other day, the day before. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I was like, yeah. They actually scored runs in one inning. I was like, but then it just turned into this. There you go. All right, so let's talk a little bit of action cinema news. So we got Jason Statham we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about Iko Uwais. There's some news on his. He formed his Uwais production banner where he's going to be doing his own movies, which is kind of good because America doesn't really know how to do Iko Uwais like in the American movies that he's done. Although I've liked a few that he's done, but they don't really know how to do Iko. I mean, of course, Triple Threat, as you can see, probably one of his best American movies that he's done. But then, of course, you got Stuber. With Dave Bautista, which again wasn't the worst movie. It was funny to a point, but then he was totally misused in that movie. But so anyway, he's his directorial debut, Timur, which is based on a real life event. He's filming. It's going to be releasing later this year in Indonesian cinemas. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Of course, we got Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. Lionsgate just announced that they're going to be releasing the entire epic. It was split into two films when it was released back in the day. We also know Kill Bill Volume 1, Kill Bill Volume 2. Of course, Quentin Tarantino, to his dismay, had to separate the films into two because, they didn't want people sitting in the theater for 4+ hours. But now it's okay. So Lionsgate's going to release it. 4 hours and 18 minutes, I believe, is the length of this movie. I believe they should have an intermission because if not, bring bottles to pee in. If you're a guy. If you're a woman, I don't know what to do for you. So let's get started. So let's share the screen here with my website. Of course, my website, ACTION-FLIX.com. Make sure you visit my website. This is the Action-FLIX podcast, which comes out of ACTION-FLIX.com, the website I've been doing for 10 years. 10 years in August, I celebrated my 10-year anniversary that I've been doing it. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about Alan Richardson teaming up with Kevin James for Payday. It's an action comedy from Amazon MGM. Take it for what it is. We haven't seen a trailer yet, but they did release some images for that one. There's Kill Bill. I love that image, by the way, of Uma Thurman as the bride. That is awesome artwork right there. I would hang that on my wall. And then we have some new trailers. This isn't trailer tactical, so I'll mention it, but I'm not going to do any trailers because I'm going to save that for my trailer tactical show. But he has Trap House. Dave Bautista is another new movie that he's got coming out. All right, so let's kick things off here. Let's get it going, if you will. Let me scroll down here and go into the first line of business, and that's Mr. Statham. That's right. And I did this the other day. And as you guys notice, I do what I have the weekly intel, which I do here. And of course I do intel on the website, which is my news, but then I do the weekly intel rapid fire, which is just a bunch of, short news stories clipped together in an article. Cause I don't have time sometimes to do separate articles. So I just do one, and I call it the weekly intel rapid fire. So it's a rapid fire of action cinema news. And this is a Jason Statham edition, as you can see. So we got new information on the Statham. He did a new movie called Shelter, which pretty much sounds like Statham doing Statham things. What are you going to do? it is what it is. If you're not a Statham fan by now, you're not going to be a Statham fan anytime soon. But of course, many people are Statham fans because he's one of our premier action stars today. So this is from obviously A Working Man, which came out in January of this year or March of this year. And again, it didn't get the welcoming that The Beekeeper did. It was done by David Ayer as well, as who did The Beekeeper, the first Beekeeper, Jason Statham. And a lot of people didn't like. I loved it. I mean, did it have flaws? Yes. Did some things not make sense? Yes. But at the same time, it's Jason Statham doing Jason Statham's things. So it's like, how can you not love it? And the ending was awesome. You had David Harbour, who was kind of misused. I would have loved to see his role because he was his friend who was blind. I would have liked to have seen him do some cool shit, being blind and anything, kind of like, Yojimbo stuff at the end. But no, didn't happen. But he's got some cool crap coming out. First thing we got is Black Bear, which set out its new distribution company. For January 2026 release for Jason Statham's Shelter. Now, this is from The Beekeeper too. There's no actual images from Shelter that we have yet. So I had to use some old, images to use for the article. But basically, if you notice what I wrote in my article, I was like, sorry, but I've been watching baseball and the Guardians lost, if you didn't know. All right. So anyway, this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. THR reported the news yesterday that Black Bear's new production slate is full steam ahead, and one of the first films to hit will be Statham's Shelter with a January 30th theatrical release. So similar to that this year, and then of course the year before, where Jason had the Beekeeper come out. We're going to get some early Jason Statham action for the new year. So this is going to be January 30th. Yes, and this is kind of cool. Rick Roman Waugh, who has been directing a lot of Gerard Butler films as of late. He did Angel Has Fallen, Greenland, and of course he did Greenland 2 Migration, which I didn't know. When I saw Greenland, I did not know that they're going to be doing a sequel to that movie. And of course, I actually kind of forgot that they were doing it, because it was announced a long time ago. And then of course I did a news article on it, but then ever since then it's been radio silent. Then it's like, here's the trailer. I'm like, oh, cool. All right. It looks kind of neat. I mean, it looks like it's a little bit more faster paced than the first one was. The first one was like tense as anything. But anyway, Rick Roman Waugh is directing from a script penned by Ward Perry. Statham stars along with Bodhi Ray, who is from Habnet, whatever that is. No, Naomi Aki, who from Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, and Bill Nighy. So here's the plot. It's Jason Statham, okay? It's Jason Statham. So, of course, we all know that, it's going to... Why wouldn't this be the plot? So let me scroll down a little bit, and I'll show it up here. All right, the story follows a reclusive man who lives in a remote house by the sea, just minding his own business, living a quiet life. But, of course, he has a past. Because Statham's characters always had... It's like Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal's characters always had a past and usually was involved in some clandestine black ops, operation or something. Anyway, but when he rescues a young girl from drowning in a terrible storm, he unwittingly sets off a chain reaction that soon brings violence his way, forcing him to confront choices from his past. I.e., he's got skills. He was part of something in the past, just like in The Beekeeper. And Jason Statham's going to be doing Jason Statham things. And he's going to kick ass. He's going to kick the living snot out of people, shoot people, and all kinds of cool crap. So, yeah. So there you go. So we got that happening, which is pretty cool. And then we got some casting additions announced for Beekeeper 2. This is pretty cool, actually. We got MCU alum Palm Clementine and wrestling star Adam Copeland, who we all know as Edge, the famous wrestler who's been doing it for decades, joined Jason Statham and director Timur Lionsgate's The Beekeeper 2. Yes. And there are some pictures. Actually, that's from Percy Jackson with I shared that picture with from Adam Copeland. So once again, there's no images from this because they haven't. They're it's just producing it as we speak. So anyway, so This comes on the heel of the Shelter news, and director Timur Lionsgate is directing, and he brings some legit action cred to the sequel, having made such brutal epics as The Night Comes For Us, which is pretty much an action horror movie, because if you've ever seen The Night Comes For Us, it's pretty savage. And of course, Nobody 2. Kurt Wimmer serves as screenwriter, with Statham also serving as producer via his Punch Palace Productions. Now, there's no plot details for The Beekeeper 2, but we all know it's going to deal with Adam Clay, who, again, is a shattery ex-badass who's going to kick ass in many, many different ways, and expects more of the same from Statham, including brutal action design, on-screen combat, and kinetic violence. Because why not? Because he is Jason the motherfucking Statham. That's right. So there we go. There's some news on Jason Statham. Anytime there's Jason Statham news, it's cause for celebration, because why not? All right, so let's talk about this one. So it's this one that popped up right now. We're going to talk about Playdate. Yeah. So actually, this is kind of funny, because actually Kevin James is becoming quite the action star. Do you guys know this? Like, he did a movie a couple months ago called Guns Up. I was actually supposed to interview the director, but then they offered me an email interview, and I was just kind of like, no, thanks. I'm like, I only do podcast because I only want people to see my. I don't do written interviews anymore. So he did it with Christina Ricci, and he was his ex-assassin. Looked pretty good. Haven't seen it, but now he's doing an action comedy with Alan Ritchson, and we also have Alan Ritchson as Reacher. He's becoming quite the action star himself. He's got Motor City coming out, which has 4 lines of dialogue, which is kind of like Silent Night that Joel Kinnaman did with John Woo, although that movie had no lines of dialogue except for when TV people were talking and stuff like that. But this is called Playdates. So they released, Amazon Prime or Amazon MGM released some images from the movie, which is pretty much an action comedy. So it's either going to be an action comedy in the vein. I'm hoping it's like an 80s action comedy, like in Keen to Tango Cash, and obviously Richard and James are very awesome on screen. So putting those two together, I'm confident that they might produce a good product. But at the same time, you never know. I mean, it might just be like another direct to streaming, you'll watch it once and then forget about it. But anyway, they released some images here that I've shown on the website. So here's the images. So we got all photo credit goes to Amazon MGM Studios. There's him and Kevin James. There's the picture that I put for my thumbnail, which is the walk away from a fake explosion. So obviously they're like I'm going to read the synopsis here in a minute, but they're pretty much dads, and they go running and gunning with their kids, and there they are in a car. Obviously, they're in a car chase. Same sons are there. So obviously, they're putting their sons in danger. There's Kevin James with probably which actually, that looks like a pretty good pizza, actually. I don't know. I think looks like there's peppers on it, though. I don't know. Anyway, there's the rest of the cast. So, yeah, those are probably the moms and stuff like that. But yeah, so this one is kind of interesting, and the plot synopsis reads: when recently unemployed accountant Brian agrees to a play date with charismatic stay-at-home dad Jeff and their sons, he expects an easy afternoon of small talk and football tossing. Reads the official synopsis. Instead, he's thrust into a chaotic scramble to stay alive as they are pursued by a ruthless team of mercenaries. Brian stumbles through one ridiculous obstacle after another. His zero tactical skills, a stark contrast, and Jeff's oddly prepared demeanor. So obviously, Jeff has some skills. He was probably something in his former life. Director Luke Greenfield hilariously collides suburban dad life with high-stakes thrills, transforming an ordinary afternoon into an absurd action-packed adventure where minivan mayhem meets professional hitman. So take that with what you will. I mean, like I said, if anything, it looks exciting. It looks exciting, the fact that you got those two teaming up. So that's why I'm going to give it a chance. So obviously, I will check it out when it hits. So do with that with what you will, as I always say. Like I said, these streaming movies, obviously are cut, hit or miss. So you never really know what you're going to get with them, and usually it's more of the same. But hopefully, like with the talent involved in this one, it's going to be, something that they deliver a product that is worth something. And then, you might want to watch a second time, which you don't really get too many times. Now, this is pretty cool. This is Iko Uwais. Like I said, he's got a new movie coming out called Timur, which is actually his directorial debut. And it's the first film that is coming from his U.S. Productions banner, which he's doing his own movies, his own thing. And this is a thumbnail from it that is on the YouTube video that I shared, and I'm gonna play. I'll shrink it down and play what he shows here in a minute. But Timur is actually based on a historical fact in Indonesian history. It follows the real-life international hostage crisis that took place in Mapenduma in 1996. Hope I pronounced that right. The subsequent rescue operation was overseen by now Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto. The film is U.S.'s directorial debut and the first action film co-produced out of Indonesia. So yeah, so he's got his stamp all over this one, which, you know, bodes well because he's got his own action stunt team. So with U.S. making his own movies, obviously he's behind the camera with this one because he's been behind the camera before. You know, he's done stunt work for other movies that he hasn't even been in, but he's done the stunt work. So this bodes very well for action fans because, you know, he's one of the most sensational martial arts action stars living today. But he's not a household name because, like I said, like when he comes to America, like he gets put in the wrong types of movies. Although Beyond Skyline from Liam O'Donnell, and of course Triple Threat. But then, of course, you know, you had, like I said, the aforementioned Stuber, you know, which didn't really do him justice. You know, he had that blonde hair. It was a mess. Like, what can I tell you? So let me scroll down here a little bit. And here is the I gotta apologize. Like when I do my sharing, like it jumps around when I'm doing it. So that's StreamYard for you. Thanks, guys. Anyways, there we go. All right, so let me play this. I actually haven't watched this yet. I had not have a chance to watch the video. So here we go. I'm gonna play it right now.
A challenge and opportunity I couldn't pass up a second time. Outside of acting,
so it looks like there's going to be some Iko Uwais style action design in it, which bodes very well.
An artistic endeavor that could be said to be beyond my expectations. This is still, or I'll give it a play.
Oh. Ooh.
Action.
Thank you. We need a translator for action. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah.
Behind the scenes, it turns out to be fun and exciting. This is the best team. Bro, they're on.
Hugs all around. For a job look. Can I pre-order it now? That's my question. Like that's my only like. Holy cow! All right, so obviously it's a drama. You know, it's based on a real life event, but you're gonna have Iko Uwais and his stunt team doing their thing. So it looks very, very like this is the type of movie. And there's this image was actually released when they announced his production company and the movies that he's doing. So that's pretty cool. So I'll blow it up here for you here in a second. Hang on. There we go. All right. So I forgot which button it was. All right. So yeah. So there's the image that they released at the time. So obviously, US is going to be heading this operation. The real life operation. He's going to be kicking some ass, taking some names, and doing some very Iko Uwais things, like I always say. All right. So that's pretty cool. So the other thing that came out this week, which was pretty neat, and it says it's getting a worldwide release. So hopefully, it comes to us here in Panama City Beach, where I am located. But we got this happen while I was watching the Cleveland Guardians blow it, because that's what I do. So. Anyway, here we go. All right, so Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, Quentin Tarantino's blood-soaked homage to martial arts madness, set to debut its definitive ultimate cut in December. Yeah, baby. So there wasn't actually, I got the email for this. I got the PR email for this, but unfortunately there wasn't any images, or there wasn't a trailer for it or anything. So hopefully that comes later. It's coming out in December. Like I said, this artwork of Uma Thurman as the bride, I would hang this on my wall. That is awesome. That looks freaking stellar. And I got the 4K months ago, because I reviewed it for the site, and I got both Volume 1 and Volume 2. Obviously the two films I like. I'm gonna be interested how they put it together, because the first movie was a total homage to Hong Kong action cinema. Then the second one was totally different from the first one. It was still in keeping with the plot, with Uma Thurman, getting her revenge on him, but it took a spaghetti western route. It was more gritty, more grounded, more, raw, So I liked how the two movies were different with each other. So that was pretty cool. So just seeing how they incorporate the ultimate cut, I am very excited to check this out. So I got the email, and I posted it today when I was licking my wounds. So here's the official, I'm going to read to you the official press release that I got today. And it's Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, Quentin Tarantino's presentation of the revenge epic that was originally presented in 2 volumes. Will be released by Lionsgate as one complete film in theaters nationwide. So that sounds pretty good to me, because it looks like they're going to be doing, whether it's a Fathom thing, I don't really care. I'm going to go see it, because I got to see Primitive War, which was a Fathom event, and actually that just came out on streaming today, and I got it. I did it just going off on a tangent here for a second. I did an out of theater reaction to Primitive War when it came out, and interviewed Luke Spark, the director of the movie, out of theater. He was literally out of the theater. I got home, though. I was out of theater, but I got home. Interviewed him, but I didn't write a written article for it, because I was going to go see it again that weekend, but I didn't happen to make it. So I'm going to watch it again now that I have it on Fandango at home, and I'm going to do a review for it again. But chef's kiss. All right, so the highly anticipated release marks one of the rare times that the entire epic has been presented as a single combined film. Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair removes the cliffhanger ending from Volume 1, because, obviously, they ended it on a cliffhanger, and then the second one came out later. And the recap that began Volume 2. New to this theatrical release will be a never-before-seen 7.5-minute animated sequence. Sounds pretty cool. Kind of like what they did for the you guys remember when the Punisher director's cut came out, the one with Thomas Jane? They did a animated intro with him in Iraq, because it was too expensive for them to film it at the time for the movie itself. So they did an animated one. They got Thomas Jane to come back and do his voice and everything. That was pretty cool. So they're going to be doing a 7.5-minute animated sequence added on to this. Select presentations of the release will be in 70mm and 35mm, and it is anticipated that the film will play in all major markets. So there you go. So that's what I'm thinking. We're all going to be able to go see it. And if they do it in IMAX, it's even better. Tarantino said, "I wrote and directed it as one movie, and I'm so glad to give the fans a chance to see it as one movie. The best way to see Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair is at a movie theater in glorious 7mm or 35mm. Blood and guts on a big screen in all its glory." Gotta love Quentin Tarantino. Lionsgate manages library distribution rights for one of Hollywood's largest platforms of Tarantino's films, which also includes Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, and Glorious Bastards, Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight, and Death Proof. Tarantino's Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair unites Volume 1 and Volume 2 into a single unrated epic presenting exactly as he intended, complete with a new, never-before-seen anime sequence. Uma Thurman stars as the bride left for dead after her former boss and lover Bill ambushes her wedding rehearsal, shooting her in the head and stealing her unborn child. To exact her vengeance, she must first hunt down the 4 remaining members of the deadly Viper assassination squad before confronting Bill himself. With its operatic scope, relentless action, and iconic style, The Whole Bloody Affair stands as one of cinema's definitive revenge sagas, rarely shown in its complete form and now presented with a classic intermission. Oh, good. It's got intermission. So we could get popcorn. That means we could get popcorn and soda, everybody, because we'll be able to go pee, and do our business and then come back and watch the rest of the movie. So that's pretty cool. So there you go. So, I mean, like I said, this is like, you can't talk about action cinema, without, Quentin Tarantino, obviously he's done all the genres, the grindhouse, the drama. And of course, this was his big homage because he's a big fan of Hong Kong action and, Chinese cinema. So this was his homage. And I call it martial arts madness because it's total madness in the best possible way. This is a classic. Kill Bill is a classic. And to see this come together as one movie, I'm going to be excited to see it. I'm going to be excited. Hopefully they release it in 4K on home video, DVD, not DVD, but 4K, sorry. So I will definitely add it to my collection along with the other 2 and have all 3 together. That would be super, super awesome. So that would be pretty cool. So yeah, so looking forward to that. So that's going to be December. And what was the date again? Let me see. It escapes my memory here first. December 5th. Hey, 5 days before my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I'm going to be 53. Man, am I old. Anyway. So, yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I love when they do stuff like this because then, normally, you don't get a chance to redo something. So it's like when Zack Snyder got to do his Justice League. That was pretty cool, because everybody, was like, oh, we need the whole thing. And yeah, no, it's not going to happen. The DCU has taken over. Sorry, everybody. So, yeah, so that's pretty much what I got for this installment. Although I have one more thing. So as you guys all know, Highlander was supposed to start filming this fall or winter. It was, and then of course it was postponed because Henry Cavill had to injure himself while he was training for the movie. They hadn't even started filming it. Now, if I could see, like, if they had, started filming it, maybe. But yeah, this happened when he was training for it. And it's a leg injury because, we all seen the posts that he has shared online. And so anyway, the first thing, okay, this is a Jason Statham edition. So we got more Jason Statham. So here we go. Jason Statham, of course, The Beekeeper 2 started production. And of course, Timo shared this on social media, which, they always show the card, when production starts on. And of course, there you have The Beekeeper 2 has started production. So in an interview with Screen Rant back in August in support of his Nobody 2, Timo stated that he chose to take over The Beekeeper 2 from Meyer because Statham's character Van Clay reminded him of Frank Castle, the Punisher. I love that. I love that Timo took over because he's a Punisher fan. Punisher. There we go. There's my Punisher. He says, I'm definitely drawn to the Beekeeper series just because when I watched it, I always felt that, wow, this is essentially Statham playing one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe, which is the Punisher. If I can't make the Punisher film, which you should let him make a Punisher film, please. If the gods of film aren't allowing me to do a Punisher film yet, I love how he says yet, because never hold out hope. Then I'll turn in and play into my own version of the Punisher. That's yay. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. Like I said, Timo, for one, he's one of the most barbaric, savage action filmmakers today. Like his move, like The Shadow Strays. I finally got a chance to watch that a little while ago. Didn't do a review for it because, of course, I'm busy. But I should. I should do a Center of the Ring with Timo's films. Like, which is better? Like, The Night Comes For Us or The Shadow Strays? That sounds like a good Center of the Ring. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, so very neat, like I said. And then also we have, let me share this again with y'all. There's the image that Timo shared. Then, of course, we are still getting Highlander news, which it's not going to be starting production until early 2026. So we are going to get it. It's going to happen. It's just a question of how long it's going to take. It's been decades since, decades, maybe more than a decade since we've been waiting for a Highlander. And if anything, like I know reboots, reimaginings, remakes are looked upon well, especially in action cinema stages. But I think if any movie that deserves to be done again is Highlander. And with Chad Stahelski doing it and his 8711 action design team, that even makes it better. And Henry Cavill, like The Witcher, if y'all watch The Witcher, like his sword skills are insane in that. Of course, we all know he stopped doing The Witcher because he thought he was going to be Superman again. And of course, that didn't happen. And Liam McIntyre has taken over. And actually, I didn't get a chance to share this on the site. Liam Hemsworth, they shared images of him, and everybody's saying it's the Timo version. Like that's kind of mean. I mean, I thought he looked fine. So anyway, WWE star Drew McIntyre joins Highlander, and I believe he's going to play his brother, just like in the original with Christopher Lambert. His clan. When he gets killed and it comes back, and everybody forsakes him and boots him out of the clan because they think it's the devil's work but this cast for Highlander. Okay, so not only is Chad Stahelski directing it, Henry Cavill starring in it, but then of course, if you've been following my website, I have been mentioning the cast additions, and it is insane. Russell Crowe, obviously, played the Ramirez character, played so wonderfully by the late great Sean Connery. Marissa Abella is going to be the love interest. Karen Gillan, which, of course, is another MCU love. Jaimin Hunsu. I love Jaimin Hunsu. Max Zhang, international martial arts superstar Max Zhang. And, of course, Dave Bautista is going to be the Kurgan. Insane casting. So if you're not excited, I get it. Remakes, reboots, half of the time. Although there are some remakes and reboots that I do like. I do like Red Dawn. I did like the Red Dawn that they did with Chris Hemsworth. I like RoboCop. I do. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get heat for that, but I don't care. I give a shit what everybody thinks. But, I mean, is it the original RoboCop with Peter Weller? Hell no. But I still think they did a decent job with it, and I kind of like what they did with his body armor and stuff like that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But if anybody needs a remake or any film, it's the Highlander. Of course, you did Highlander and then its subsequent sequels that were horrible. You can make an argument that Highlander 2, the Renegade version, fixed things from the original sequel that was just Highlander, the Third Dimension, or the Sorcerer, that's also called, where Mario Van Peebles totally overacted, was basically the first movie done again. And then, of course, we had Endgame, where Lambert and Adrian Paul from the TV show hooked up together. That was pretty decent. And of course, Donnie Yen was in it, but of course, they didn't know how to use Donnie Yen back in the day, so he wasn't utilized. He did the action design and everything, but just like Blade 2 that Donnie Yen was in, Hollywood did not know how to use Donnie Yen back in the day. Now, of course, that's been fixed a little bit. Of course, Donnie Yen's still doing his thing over in Asia, but he's been treated a little bit better in American mainstream movies. But back in the day, they did not know what to do with Donnie Yen. It was a crying shame because his character in Highlander Endgame, because he also had a character in Endgame as well as Blade 2, and he got killed unceremoniously in both of them. It's like, listen, I get it. You're gonna kill Donnie Yen because he's not a big character or a big player in the movie, but give him a hero's death, man. And both times it was just like, it was come on, you can't even have Donnie Yen die gloriously on film. Anyway, but this Highlander I'm excited for. It's just, hopefully I'm still alive when it comes out, because like we said, it was supposed to start filming this fall towards the end of the year. And of course, Henry Cavill got injured, and then he posted on social media, his leg up, and it was all bandaged up and everything with his doggy next to him. And again, cute dog, I get it, but now he shared another video or images of him training again. So hopefully he's starting to get back into the swing of things. So maybe they might start. Listen, if he can come back a little sooner, you never know. You never know. So anyway, so yeah, so that's exciting. So we got, if anything, we got two Jason Statham movies coming out next year. We got Iko Uwais. We got a lot of things to be excited about. I got Primitive War digital that I'm going to check out this weekend, write my proper review for it. Basically, I already know you already know what I thought of it. If you saw my out of theater reaction, I thought it was the best thing ever. I'm never really a fan of Jurassic Park. Of course, Steven Spielberg's first movie is a classic. And I love dinosaurs. I love monster action. I love, kaiju action. I'm a big Godzilla fan, as you guys know. But like in terms of the other Jurassic Park movies, it was just the same thing. It was kids running away from dinosaurs. Every time somebody died, it was off screen or, because it was PG or PG-13. So it's cool that you got dinosaurs running around and everything. But Primitive War, if you have not seen Primitive War, support it so that we get a sequel. Because this is Jurassic Park Gone Savage. My review title is going to be Bullets, Blood, and Dinos, Oh My. Because it's got T-Rexes. Like, there's literally a scene in the finale of this movie where you have not one, but two T-Rexes, and they're chewing this guy up, and they're spinning him out back and forth between each other. It's the best thing ever. And it's totally bombastic. You got Vietnam, you got Special Forces soldiers fighting the Vietnam War, but at the same time, there's a Russian experiment. It's totally off the wall. It comes from the novels, and the graphic novels and stuff like that. But this is the perfect merging of action and monster action and horror, like kind of like Aliens put action and horror together. But this is, and again, I want to stress that Primitive War is an independent production. Luke Spark did this through his production company. This is not a big budget Hollywood mainstream film. This is him filming in Australia in the jungles and stuff, like wherever he could find. And listen, wherever he filmed this, it is spot on. It totally looks like Vietnam. It brought me back to the late 80s and early 90s when Tour of Duty was on television, and Platoon, Hamburger Hill, Full Metal Jacket. Cirio H. Santiago, if you know him, he's the late, great Cirio H. Santiago, did a whole bed of low-budget Vietnam War movies, but were totally awesome because it had practical action, a million body count in each movie, huts exploding, helicopters exploding. But I was all into the Vietnam action movie genre back then. So watching Primitive War, yes, it does have dinosaurs. Those movies didn't have dinosaurs. This is what it has, which makes it better. But it totally brought me back to my youth and watching those movies because I love the Vietnam. I didn't love the Vietnam War. I mean, the movies. I was all into the movies when I was growing up. And watching that really brought me back to that stage in my life, and it's just awesome. And the finale, oh my god, if I had any, like, of course my review will reflect this, if there's any downside to it, of course some of the CGI is dodgy, but for the 99% of CGI for a low budget independent Australian movie that this is, I mean, yes, you have Ryan Quanten in it, you have Jeremy Piven in it, Tricia Helfer's in it too, she's great in it, she's doing John Woo action, double guns and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But it's an Australian production. It's an independent Australian production. This is not big budget. That's what's so awesome about it, because it looks like it's a big budget Hollywood movie, but it's not. But sometimes when you get a lot of dinosaurs on screen at the time, it looks a little dodgy. Some of the special effects are dodgy, and there's a lag a little bit in the second half. Or the second part of the movie, but I was never bored with it. It is 2 hours and 12 minutes, I believe. So if anything, they probably could have trimmed a little bit, maybe. But I loved it, even with the lag, even with the dodgy CGI. Luke Spark did an awesome job, and my out of theater reaction totally talked about that. Of course, I interviewed him for the movie right out of the gate, right when the movie came out. So make sure you catch that on the website. But yeah, I am excited to watch that again. I'm going to do a review, and I'm going to go see the Smashing Machine this weekend. I paid 80 cents for it because I have the Fandango thing and I got a credit. So I was like, I mean, I'm sure they still get their money, right? But I'm supporting it, but I had a $10 credit, and it was $10.80. So I paid 80 cents to go see the Smashing Machine this weekend. So I will do a review. That's not an action movie. Yes, it has MMA action in it, but it is a full-blown sports drama. The life of Mark Kerr, And of course, Emily Blunt's in it. I love her. One, she's gorgeous, and two, she's one of the best actresses we have working today. And the two of them have such great chemistry because we all know, like, they did Jungle Cruise together, which is a totally different movie from this. But so I'm kind of excited to see, like, because that one was more like Larry Banner and comedy and adventure, kind of Indiana Jones style. This is totally stripped down, brutal, dramatic, raw, savage. Their scenes together, I hear, because they get into some humongous fights, because that's what really happened in real life, I hear, are just phenomenal, and they just work well with each other. And again, Dwayne Johnson, listen, I always thought, like, everybody's kind of surprised, but like, if you want, like, usually, like, he was so charismatic and so awesome as a wrestler. Like, he owned the stage when he was in the WWE, and of course that transcended into the movies. And he even said that he was a cartoon character a lot. He was doing the thing he was making movies for the studios, for the money. So this is actually his first movie, and they're saying it's not going to open big, but of course it's not going to open big. But it's not meant to. It would be nice if it did, but this is his art house film. So I'm still going to do a review for it, just because it's Dwayne Johnson, and it does have MMA action in it. But I mean, I know this is an action site, but I'm still going to support the film. But yeah, I'm going to see that tomorrow. So be on the lookout for my review. My Prisoner of War review, I'm going to actually watch that now or after I start doing the live podcast here with you all. Yeah. So what else do I got going on? I'm trying to do some interview hookups. I thought I was going to have one this week, and the PR guy's ghosting me, which kind of sucks. I'm like, because I had the Star's email, and he put me in contact with his PR guy, and then the guy got back to me right away. But then I emailed him like 2 or 3 times, and he has, it is what it is. It's like, if you Google this guy, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I mean, it could still happen. But if you Google this star's name on my website, again, you can see like how much I've supported. This is, and I really want to interview him again because I have in the past, and I really want to, talk about the movies that he's in and stuff like that. So hopefully that turns out. But it is what it is. Like I said, I'm just a small fish in a big pond. But I thank you everybody for your support. Actually, another cool thing I wanted to mention is my YouTube channel. So let me bring that up. I'm gonna stop the sharing here for a second, but then I'm going to add my YouTube channel. So you guys, I'll do a little promotion for my YouTube channel. There you go. So there's my YouTube channel, as you can see. If you go to it right now, you'll see this is my Scott Adkins interview that I did for Prisoner of War. Let me play a little bit of this for you guys. Here, hang on a second.
I don't want to spoil it, but like you have bookends to this movie.
This is just
like,
a random.
It starts later in outside of World War II, and and I like how that was too, especially the ending. Because again, you go to see his son, so basically you visit his son, and it turns into a really cool scene and everything.
Well, that was the original concept for the movie. Was this foreigner turns up in Japan in the 50s, storms into this dojo, wanting to get some justice for what happened to him in the past. So, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool moment.
And when you
I'm not going to play the whole thing, obviously, but okay, let me tell you a cool story about that. Okay, so I actually, when I was doing, hang on one second. When I was doing ACTION-FLIX.com, I was creating ACTION-FLIX.com. I was actually going to be a Scott Adkins fan site because I had seen Scott in Special Forces. That was the first time I've ever seen Scott Adkins. So I go back way. So a lot of people were introduced to him as Boyka, from the Understood. I go way back. I'm in Special Forces, the first big movie that he was in. Isaac Flaherty directed, of course. He had Marshall Teague, Tim Apple from Soldier of Fortune Inc. in it. So I have been following this man for a long, long time. Over 20 years, probably. Not to make him or myself sound old. But, so I was going to do a Scott Adkins fan site. But I'm like, you know what? I'm still going to support Scott. And if you guys notice on my website, I have Essential Atkins. That whole section is just Scott Adkins. So I still have a Scott Adkins fan site on my ACTION-FLIX.com website. And he thought that was awesome. He was floored by that and everything. But yeah, so check it out on my website, Essential Atkins. You click on that, and it's got everything Scott Adkins on the website. It's got his movies, his trailers, his reviews, my interviews with him. And that was, I joked about it on the interview if you've seen it. And plus, it's got almost 3,000 views on YouTube. So thank you for everybody that's supporting and watching the interview. But anyways, so this was the 11th time, and he joked, he's like, I'm giving you way too much of my time, but he reached out to me. Okay, this is how awesome Scott Adkins is. So Scott, if you see this, I'm going to just pretty much talk about how awesome you are. He's been in some pretty big movies. Of course, he does the independents, but then he's been in big Hollywood productions and stuff like that. Of course, his biggest thing probably was John Wick Chapter 4. Then he played Killa, crushed it, fat suit, fought Keanu Reeves. But he reached out to me. Now, of course, every time I interview Scott Adkins up until now, this was the first interview, and I'll get to this in a second. A PR person reaches out to me, and I'm like, of course I want to interview Scott Adkins. I would interview Scott Adkins for every single movie that comes out. Of course, it hasn't happened, but I've interviewed him for a lot. This is number 11. But I get like 8-10 minutes, and it's always the same thing. I get on, Scott gets on, and then there's a PR lady. She's like, hi, John. I'm like, hey. And Scott's like, hey, John. I'm like, hey, Scott. And then they're like, you got 8 minutes. Go. And I'm like, Diablo was great. Marco's a War, your fight. Awesome. It's like, what can you talk about in 8 or 10 minutes, right? So each interview, I think the longest interview I had with him up until then, I think I of course, you know your boy, right? So like they say 8 or 10 minutes, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, So I kind of stress things out, 12 minutes, 13 minutes, some 50. I think the most I got out was 15 minutes. And then pretty much they were like, hey, we got to cut this. Oh, okay. I got to let you go. So he reached out to me, and I don't want to say anything, but we email back and forth because, and he was like, John, I just want to thank you so much for all the support over the years. You've been one of my biggest supporters. And I'm like, dude, yeah, no problem. I'm like, I do this basically for free. I get a little bit of money from it, but yeah, it's my therapy. Like I said, all know I've had a lot to deal with in the past few years and stuff like that. My neurological disorder, my marriage breaking up, and moving to a different state, and then my marriage breaking up. So I've had a lot of stuff to deal with, the job stuff and everything. And my neurological disorder, I still have a neurological disorder, but I can keep it in check. And one of the good things that keeps it in check is, one, I have my emotional support pets. I have Tug, my little kitty. And of course I have Ace, my dog, but I don't have Ace all the time. It's kind of like my situation with my daughter where I co-parent. So I don't have Ace all the time. So Ace was originally my support pet, but I don't have him all the time. So I got Tug. So that way he's here all the time. Okay. So, so this is my therapy. I do this for fun. I do it because, one, it hooks me up with some great people, and I get to talk to celebrities, which is awesome. Anyways, let me go on. So he goes, I just want to think, I want to give you an in-depth interview. I know every time we talk, it's like 8-10 minutes, and we can't really talk about anything except for the movie. Sometimes I get things in there. If you notice, like I talk about certain things, and I try to get, like little bits and pieces of other stuff in there, but it's hard. It's difficult when you only got so much time. You got the PR people breathe that, and I get it. They got more interviews lined up, and you got to stay on track and stuff like that. But he's like, he offered me 45 minutes. He's like, I want to give you a 45-minute interview. Of course, we'll promote Prisoner of War, but we could talk about anything else you want to do. And I said, huh? I'm like, that would be awesome. I'm like, of course. So we set it up for a time, and it was done in August, way before Prisoner of War came out. But he sent me a screener even before the Big Bad Film Fest, which it premiered at Big Bad Film Fest, which I covered, along with Marco Zuer's Affinity, the insane Yakuza film Isolated, which you go and check out all those reviews. But I got to see Prison of War pretty much before anybody, which is awesome. So I watched it like 3 times even before I interviewed him. Like, I'm watching this again. So this is awesome. So he said 45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. almost an hour and a half he gave me, and we talked about prison war. We talked about training. He put in, his new gym at his house, which is awesome. It's like a training facility. It's like he said, it's like an 8711 action training, facility, which is awesome. So we talked about that. And then, of course, I did something fun where I talked about 5 of my favorite fight scenes. Of course, I took flack from this when the interview came out. I did this a couple years ago for his birthday. I did 5 films or fight scenes that I liked. And I did Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning, the finale, which is an honorable mention. I did Avengement, Triple Threat, Ninja 2, Special Forces. So, and then I was like, so we talked about all those, and he gave me great in-depth stuff about each of the fights and the movies and stuff like that. And then it was awesome. And the interview came out, and it's been a big hit. I've got a lot of great feedback. People say how awesome it is. Thank you so much for doing this and stuff like that. But I get people, why didn't you talk about Ip Man 4? Listen, I get it. Ip Man 4, his fight with Donnie Yen. Okay, but I did this a couple years ago, and I just used those 5 fights to start off with. Hopefully, in the future, I will be able to talk about more of my favorite fights. This was just the tip of the iceberg, people. And then, what about this movie? What about this? And even Scott was like, I thought you would have put this one. I'm like, I get it. That's why I don't do top 5s or top 10s, because it's like I always got to pay. I would have put that at number 3, or I would have put that. I'm like, listen, it's your personal preference. And Scotty even said that in an interview. He's like, it's personal preference, right? Because I think he said that he put the ending of Avengement higher up than I did. And I'm like, I get it. But then people are like, what about this? How could you forget about this fight scene? I'm like, I didn't forget about any fight scene, people. I am the legit Scott Adkins fanatic. I know every single fight. El Gringo, do you know that movie? I mean, I do. It's like Black Mass 2, City of Mass. Do you know that movie? I do. It's like I am a Scott Adkins fanatic. Of course, I know his fight with Donnie Yen in Ip Man 4. But I didn't want to do that one then, because hopefully down the road we could talk about that one. Pretty much just have a whole section tailor-made for that fight. Because, of course, we all know that is like the ultimate martial arts showdown. When Scott did that. Of course, Scott was a total dick in that movie. His character, the Marine instructor, who was a total racist, but did a great job at it. But yeah, so again, for everybody watching, yes, it was done a couple years ago for his birthday, and I just kind of parlayed it into I did it for my first podcast for the Ultimate Atkins Action, which he loved, by the way, because I do a podcast called Ultimate Atkins Action. Say that 10 times fast. I've only done 1 episode so far. I'm gonna be recording number 2 here in a few days. So he thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I just did that for the first episode, and then I just did it with him. But so hopefully down the road we could talk about Ip Man 4, and of course there's off the top of my head, One Shot, the whole finale of One Shot. I mean, One Shot's awesome. Like the One Take action movie did, where he's the Navy SEAL, and of course, One More Shot. But the whole finale to One Shot is freaking awesome. And I want to talk about that one. I did interview him for One Shot, but of course, it was one of those fast interviews. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch. So hopefully down the road, I'll talk to him again. And I didn't tease. I just joked around, been like, "You, sir, are the one I've interviewed the most." And that's what he was like. I've given you way too much of my time. That's like, of course, he was joking, but he's like, it's always a pleasure to talk to him. He's such an awesome, down-to-earth individual. But of course, he does the movies and everything, but he's all about his fans and the people that support him and everything, because it's a hard business, man. But yeah, I'm do or die with Scott Adkins. He is he's, if not the best, one of the best working in action cinema today. I mean, you can make arguments for everybody else, Iko Uwais, even Donnie Yen still kicking. Jackie Chan did The Shadow's Edge this year. 70-something years old, and that man's kicking ass. I got the chance to watch that last week. Of course, I didn't do my review yet because I've been busy. But yeah, so a lot of good stuff coming up. So got this out of the way, talked about some news, Jason Statham, Iko Uwais, Kill Bill, some other cool stuff. So hopefully I can record a lot more, and I'll be a little bit free, because I still want to do my other podcast. If y'all know that, like, this is the Weekly Intel, the live version. I do Trailer Tactical, where I do talk about trailers. I still want to be. My GI Joe podcast is starting. I swear to God, Yo Joe Zone. I am such a, as you can see, I'm such. I got Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and all kinds of. I got GI Joe stuff all over the place. Actually, I'm going to do my wall over here. It's going to be my wall of Joe. I'm going to just have GI Joe pictures and posters and all that stuff. So when I do my Yo Joe Zone, I'm going to flip because I do, you know, like I don't have a desk. I just have like one of those tables, those folding tables, so I could just pretty much move it anywhere I want to go. Because if you have I am going to get a regular desk, but I just it's just easier to move this and give you guys different views of my office and everything. But yeah, so I still want to do Yo Joe Zone. I'm reading my GI Joe comics as we speak. Of course, we got Larry Hama's A Real American Hero. Skybound is doing that. Of course, they're doing the Energon universe. A lot of cool shit with that. So yes, I want to talk about all that. Center of the Ring, where I put two movies up against each other, and I was kind of talking about before. And actually, another cool concept I want to do for Center of the Ring is Michael J. White. Actually, we have another Michael J. White movie that came out with a trailer this week, Exit Protocol, which he did with Dolph Lundgren and Scott Martin. So I have to kind of look him up a little bit more. He looks familiar. So that trailer came out. But he also had Trouble Man and Hostile Takeover. So I watched Trouble Man, which I did not do a review for, but I still have to watch Hostile Takeover. So I kind of wanted to do a center ring for that. My audio podcast on Spotify, so what I'm going to start doing now is with these that I do now. So obviously, the only thing is the visuals. You won't be able to see it, but I'm going to be doing, downloading them to my audio podcast version. So that way you can either watch them here on YouTube or you can check them out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, all those good places, Apple, anywhere you get your podcasts, you're going to be. And I do have audio podcasts, but it's been a couple years since I've done it. Just since I moved to Florida, it's, it hasn't happened. I've just been way too busy and trying to keep the website going. And I've been doing the video thing here on YouTube. I'm almost at 1,300 subscribers. So thank you very much for everybody supporting me. Like I said, and then that leads me back to what I wanted to say here. Coming back to here, as you can see, this is my website for a YouTube channel. But I have almost 550,000 views, which is pretty phenomenal. Now, I know that's just a shot in the bucket to some of these other people that have millions and millions and millions. I get it. But for a little old me, that's a nobody that just talks about action movies because he's loved action movies since he was a kid. 550,000 views on YouTube altogether. So that's pretty phenomenal. So I thank you, everybody that supports me and, follows me, calls me the authority on action. So thank you. It's like, I appreciate it. I really do. I'm a humble guy. Like I said, like people talk about him. I'm like, no, stop, please. I don't want to. But, I really appreciate it, though. I appreciate everybody that supports me, comments and everything. So again, when you're watching these, if you have a comment, question or concern or anything about action cinema, let me know. If you have an idea for a show, whether it's this one or it's the Trailer Tactical or it's the Yo Joe Zone, which I'm going to, so just drop a line. Let me know something you want to see because I take requests. I'm not too, I'm not too proud. So, but yeah, so I got a lot of exciting things coming up. I just got to find time to do it. Like I said, being a single dad, transitioning with jobs, and stuff like that. I've had a busy week because I had to renew my lease with my apartment, which is all good. So I'm going to be staying here pretty much. Like I said, I moved a lot in the last few years. So it's like I want to stay put, and I'm in the center of Panama City Beach, and I'm perfect where I'm at. I love it. I go outside, I see palm trees. You can hear the beach. I'm down the road from the beach. It's like, and my next job that I'm going to have, it's going to be awesome. So I'm really excited, and hopefully I'll be in better spirits because the last job I had, I was not in good spirits. I could totally throw this place under the bus, and I probably should, but I'm not going to. The only two good things came out of working at this place. One, my boss, because he gave me a shot. Because when I had my shoulder surgery, I had to quit Target, where I was working at, because I couldn't use my arm anymore. And I still can't. I still practice karate and stuff like that, but I can't really lift anything. So I was going into this place with my daughter. So he offered, I got to talking to him, and he offered me a job, and I became assistant manager and stuff like that. So I'm he's like a brother to me now. So, I mean, like meeting him, and of course, Kellen Lutz. Kellen Lutz has been in there a few times with his family. He emails me like the Kellen Lutz. Okay, so I told you I'm emailing Scott Adkins back and forth, right? So Kellen Lutz he emails me out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, is this place open?" I almost said the name. Is this place open now? And I'm like, "Yes, we're open till 8." He's like, "Great, I'm gonna bring the kids by." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll see you then." So my boss, who now I consider family, and I would walk through fire for, and meeting Kellen Lutz, as y'all know, because I put it out there when I did, because I was just freaking awesome when that happened. And I've seen him a few more times, 3 times I believe he's been in there. But of course, I got to email him and tell him, hey, I'm not there anymore. I'm going to be at this place. So, bring the kids here, so then this is better, because it's not toxic. That's what I'll say about that. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm way over an hour. Of course, probably all you guys have tuned out. I do see a few people still watching, so thank you for my ramblings. But again, the problem is I don't do a podcast for a while. I'm supposed to do this every week, but then weeks go by, and then finally I do one, and I got so much to talk about that I'm just like, I'm like, holy cow. But again, thank you, everybody. Like I said, I cannot thank you guys enough. I know I already did this a few minutes ago, but thank you guys so much for your support and everything, and just being who you are. And like I said, the world sucks. Everything sucks. And let's just talk about action cinema. Oh, one more thing. I should have done this at the beginning, but one more thing is that I do the War Room over at the Action Elite, my buddy Owen and his Action Elite every Wednesdays. We just talked about 90s movies that bombed. So that's over on his channel. Every week I do that. And if you notice on my website, I put it in my sidebar and as well as at the top. You could always check it out there. Gives him a little shout out. I do that. So that was last Wednesday. We talked about movies like Waterworld, Hard Rain, Escape from LA, Hudson Hawk, Fair Game. I mentioned The Perfect Weapon because we all know The Perfect Weapon should have been a bigger hit and should have propelled Jess Bape into action star status. And of course, actually, that's what happened with Speed. He was supposed to be in Speed, but it didn't happen because Perfect Weapon didn't make the money Paramount wanted it to, and they pretty much axed them. So that kind of sucks. But anyway, neither here nor there. So again, if you want like and subscribe, make sure you like and subscribe and leave comments, that I do read them, so make sure you like and set up your notifications. That way, when I go live or if I post any videos, trailer wise, or, if I do a recording and put it up, make sure that you guys set up your notifications. So that way you can know when a new video comes out. All right. So until then, I will say goodnight. It's Friday, October 3rd. It's still early here in Panama City. What time is it? It is 8:12 because we're Central Time here in Panama City because we're in the Panhandle. So for some reason, they consider that the Central. So, but if you go up north, like like Ohio, where I'm from, that's still considered East. So that's kind of weird how that works out. But so I'm going to watch Primitive War again. I'm going to do my review for that. Might do another video shout out for Luke Spark, who's been so awesome to me in the past. Again, make sure you check it out. Support that movie. Like I said, give them some love because the more you support it, we're definitely going to get a sequel because this movie deserves a sequel, just like the Jurassic World and Jurassic Park movies got numerous. And again, Jurassic World Rebirth, I didn't even see it, but I heard it wasn't that great. I mean, I know it had Scarlett Johansson in it, but this movie kicks that movie in the ass. Let me tell you, this is a rip-roaring, body-ripping, savage. Oh my, like I said, if you want to see dinosaurs mixed in with military action, this is your movie, let me tell you. So I'm going to go watch that. I'm going to get some popcorn. I'm going to get some soda, sit in my comfy recliner and with my earphones on and listen to the awesome sound because I got it in 4K. So yeah, give it some love. And I'm going to talk about that this weekend as well. What else I got? Oh yeah, Affinity came out this week. Marco Zaror, I interviewed him as well. Awesome movie, another contender from one of the best action movies of the year. Kick-ass flick, like I said. And Well Go USA quoted me in their press, which is pretty cool. It's always like I said, it's always a thrill to get quoted, because like I said, it's or when a celebrity shares something that you did or something like that, it's always awesome, because it means people appreciate what you're doing. It's like you're not just sitting there talking to yourself like I am right now. So hopefully I can see some of you guys are watching. So all right, so I'm going to shut up. So make sure you guys like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I will see you maybe this weekend. I'm going to try to do some more live shows this weekend just because I got some time right now, and the Guardians are done, so I don't have to worry about baseball until February, March, when spring training starts again. So there you go, guys. So make sure you guys check out the website, actionflix.com. We are your destination for everything action. And good night. Oh, one more thing. I always say, be nice until it's time to not be nice. Have a good one.